who is in our season 5 cast. This is Bobbi. I'm Joe, and in just a few minutes we're gonna have all that. I don't know why. I just had my camera like all set, and now it's all freaking weird. What the heck?
It's really early for you, Joe. Joe is on the West Coast right now, and it's really early. It's really early for Joe to be coming on. So
there we go.
Yeah.
All right. How are you?
I'm good. I've already taped a couple podcasts, so I don't know what you're doing all day. Well, look, I got Zoom school to supervise, which I'm probably not doing the best job at. But my child has breakfast bars he can eat, so I'm just going to take a bar, go to school. I've mastered parenting. No,
just throw them out the door. Yeah.
No, they don't even go out the door anymore, Joe.
That's right. There's no out the door.
Back to your room. Take out your computer. Have a lot of screen time.
Oh, that's so bad.
So much screen time. Oh my gosh. Much screen time.
Just what we all need is more screen time.
Yeah, I need to get blue light glasses. Guys, in the chat, I see thanks, guys. Glad you guys are all here. Random suggestions for blue light. This is a new blue light glasses for my child, who just, by the way, texted me, shh, be quieter. He's in school. So we've now flipped. Instead of me telling my family to be quiet because I am recording a live podcast, I am now being shh by my child, who, it's valid, he's in school. He needs to focus. Totally valid that he should tell me that we need to be quiet out here because he is in school. He is in school in the bedroom, and we must not disturb school.
Well, because all that we have is our season 5 lineup. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big show or anything.
By the way, the one thing you and I neglected to talk about was our second recording for today. So maybe we'll just do this live. Why don't we do this live? We'll go back into the green room and then and then come back. All right. So you guys are going to get one show today. It's going to be super. Can't wait to tell everybody about who's going to be joining us for our next season. I think every year we well, you know what? Let's just record this. Let's not say this stuff twice. All right, let me move up. I've got 67 moving parts for this. All right, we ready to do this?
Yeah, by the way, this is a very complicated technical show, so bear with us, guys. But it's going to be good. Thank you, Rebecca.
Here we go.
Hi, Sarah, welcome back.
We ready? This is the recording for next Monday, September 28th. Welcome to a very special episode of the Money with Friends podcast, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California, where we make the Stacky Benjamin Show. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
And I'm Bobbi Rebell, certified financial planner, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my grown-up kitchen in New York City. I'm not so exciting, Joe. You go to all the glamorous locations.
Well, I don't know. You know where I'm headed, and it may not be as glamorous anymore. But today is definitely going to be glamorous because we have our season 5 reveal today. The people that are going to be helping us choose headlines, discuss headlines, and make sure that you get the best episodes of Money with Friends possible. That you can have. Let's talk for a second just about the making of this show. And if you're brand new to Money with Friends, what the show's all about. When we first created Money with Friends, the goal was just to make these financial headlines that we all see every day more fun. Realize that a lot of headline writers, especially in the world of finance, speak in jargon. They talk about it from kind of an insider's perspective. And yet, Bobbi, when I read these headlines, the more that I understood how to translate what they were saying, the more I realized it had a lot to do with me. So as an example, when the Federal Reserve last week had their meeting, or 2 weeks ago now, had their meeting and decided that they're going to keep interest rates the same for the next 3 years, what are they really saying? What does that really mean to me? And as an example, it means a lot more for car loan rates than it does for mortgages. That's one thing. The second thing is when when they say they're going to keep rates the same for 3 years, people like you and I kind of roll our eyes a little, right? We're like, yeah, that probably isn't happening. But if you're somebody who's new to headlines, you have no idea. And today we're going to debut a group of 8 people who are going to help us discern headlines from all across the spectrum. The goal is to be as diverse as possible. And by diverse, I mean every way possible. When you turn on Money with Friends, what we really want is for you to have no idea what type of headline we're coming at next and how our thought leaders are going to think about it. We've had some great takes the last 4 seasons. We're ready for some more.
Absolutely. We have an amazing group of what we call our thought leaders. And like Joe said, they're super diverse in every way. And that means not just from their backgrounds and the different demographics, but also their area of expertise. And so we do have some personal finance experts, but we also have people from other areas, which may surprise you. And we're very excited to reveal who they are.
All right. And on that note, we ready to do this? We have, well, let's talk about exactly how it works though, Bobbi. Why don't we do that?
Right.
First?
Okay. So this is how it works. So as we said, we call these guest co-hosts our thought leaders. They're basically a rotating cast of guest co-hosts, which we switch up every 4 months. We love that they're always bringing different points of view. And in the past, they've come not only from the world of money, but also retail, advertising, sports, and more. Lots of different ages, lots of different demographic backgrounds, as we mentioned. Our goal is to include as many diverse points of view as possible so that you guys, our friends, get a wide range of different thoughts about the current pieces in the press and the headlines that everyone is talking about on other shows, but we're bringing you those different points of view. Here is how it actually works kind of in terms of logistics. So Monday, Joe and I start the week with a show together like this one. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I come on with a thought leader co-hosting with me. And that thought leader is with me once every 4 weeks, and there's a rotation. So when you see the first person, you know that they'll be back. They're going to do Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. They'll be back 4 weeks later. Then Thursdays and Fridays, it is Joe with a guest co-host thought leader. And that person, again, will be back every 4th Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday, Joe and I end the week with a show together. And we take the days off on Sundays for now. We'll see. We'll see. Somehow I feel like we're going to get roped into Sundays at some point. But for now, Sundays we rest.
May need more work, right? And what's fun about that is that during the course of the next 4 months, you get to know these people because they're recurring. So if you listen to the show regularly, you're going to find these points of view that resonate with you. And you're going to find the differences in points of view to be pretty exciting. By the way, an important part of this show is that we do the show live. So today we're recording this live and we have friends hanging out with us. And if you hang out with us, you can actually help us make the show. We even do, Bobbi, we do Instagram polls a lot of the time before the show goes off. How do people get involved with that?
You can be part of our Instagram community at Money Friends Pod. That's also our handle, by the way, on Twitter. We also, on these recordings, they go out live on Twitter. So if you follow us on Twitter, you can set an alert for when we post something, and then you can notify to be part of the show on Twitter. So answering our Instagram polls and quizzes, you may get a shout out. You can do that. Usually we post them 24 hours before the show. You can also be part of the recording in addition to seeing us go by on Twitter, which sometimes passes a little bit quickly. It's tough to catch. I think the best place to watch right now is on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube channel, Money with Friends, subscribe to the YouTube, set your alerts, and we are going to be telling you when we're going to be coming on. You also, in the YouTube, what's great there is after the show, we will post links to the stories that we talk about so you can read the entire article. Sometimes we do pick articles that are a little bit long, and we want to focus on giving time to our thought leaders and to you, our friends, to be part of the show. So we don't always get to the whole article. By going to our YouTube channel, subscribing, you can always have access to a link to the headlines discussed on the show.
All right. That is how the game works. And it's time to get the game rolling, Bobbi. We have 8 people, 8 distinct personalities that we'd like to welcome to season 5 of the show. So without further ado, we're going to start at week 1. We have Team Bobbi, which is, we'd explained, is 4 people. Team Joe are 4 people. So Bobbi, week 1, Team Bobbi, who are you going to lead off with?
Are you ready? I feel like we should insert a drum roll here. I don't know. We'll see if we can pull that off. It is David Bach.
Awesome.
David Bach. He has written 12 national best-selling books, including, of course, The Automatic Millionaire. And most recently, he wrote The Latte Factor, which, believe it or not, was not its own separate book until recently. And then he had a podcast with that. Now he has his own podcast, the David Bach podcast. So David, yeah. And what's amazing about David is he's going to be coming to us from Italy, where he went on what I think was originally meant to be 1 year, but he's moving into year 2 with his wife and his kids, and they're having a great time there. Of course, they felt the pandemic before us. So I loved following him on Instagram and hearing about it before it here, because it really was fascinating. And I remember he's so candid and so real. I mean, David teaches us so many important lessons about money, but he also is just a very authentic and true person to feel like you get to know on social media. And I had the privilege of getting to know him personally over the past few years. I was always in awe of him. I knew who he was. I loved his books. I included him in my book, How to Be a Financial Grown-Up, but I didn't reach out to him. I don't know why I didn't reach out to him for a quote. I mean, I had Tony Robbins write the foreword. I had Kevin O'Leary in the book, but I was intimidated by David Bach. I never thought to reach out to him. And the crazy way that I met him was that I was moderating a panel at the 92nd Street Y. And we do these prep for the panels. And about 5 minutes before I get the list of who's going to be on my panel that I'm now going to do the background interview with, and I do it all the time. I didn't really think much about it. And who was there? This is right as my book was coming out in 2016, but David Bach. And like my heart skipped a beat. I said, oh my God. I said to my husband, I'm going to get to meet David Bach. Well, now, 4 years later, I've gotten to know him. We actually ran into each other socially on vacation with our families, and our kids hung out. And he's just a great guy. And I've really loved becoming friends with David over the years. And the fact that he's going to do this while he's on the sabbatical in Italy is, oh my God. I'm just so grateful to David. He's going to give so much to our audience. It's really, truly valuable. And he may even have some news that he may share with us on the show about some really cool projects that he's working on from Italy. That's going to be really meaningful, I think, to our audience, and really helpful to our listeners with their money, especially with everything going on in the pandemic. So we have David Bach, who will be making appearances from Italy. Seriously.
David is somebody who I've had the opportunity to interview on several different occasions, and he is that guy, Bobbi, who's different than a lot of people, who is probably better with this live format than he is in a prepared state. He knows this stuff, and the stuff that he talks about, he knows in every fiber of his body, so that whenever he talks about something, it always is fresh and exciting. And I'll give you an example. When I was the MC of the FinCon conference a couple of years ago back in Dallas, I interviewed him on the main stage, and with most people, they brought up a prepared talk that they were going to give. David wanted to have like a fireside chat. He wanted to sit down next to me, and sure, we had a few questions ready, but where he took those and what he did with them was just so brilliant. So the fact that we're going to get David Bach live, I think, is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be amazing. And, David gives so much to the community. I hosted a financial education event at my home, and I asked David, would you come speak to just this tiny group of people? And he just said, oh, sure. And he just came on up and gave his speech and just hung out with people. I mean, he's really such a wonderful, down-to-earth, giving person who really gives to the community. And we're so excited to have him as part of our community.
Yeah, I am really, really super excited about David Bach. All right. I'm going to match your David Bach with my Bola Succumbi. And I'm super excited that Bola agreed to join us. I got to meet Bola interviewing her for the Stacky Benjamin show. She, of course, is not only has this amazing story herself of resilience around her family and her mom supporting the family, going from a spot, by the way, her mom going from a spot where she was in a traditional household where women not expected to work outside of the home. Mom ended up supporting the entire family, was able to send Bola to school in the United States. Bola, of course, is the creator of the wildly successful Clever Girl finance brand. And you know what's really interesting about Clever Girl Finance is, even though it's for women, I'm a 52-year-old dude and I absolutely love it. the Instagram channel, I learned so much from the way that Bol is able to teach people. She and her team are able to teach people so much about money and to create such a great community. Bol, of course, is a certified financial education instructor, finance expert, best-selling author, speaker, writer, podcaster, social media influencer. You've seen her everywhere, of course. Time, Money Magazine, Fortune, Good Morning America, CNBC, ABC News, and of course, the place where people are really excited to see her most. She's now going to be on Money with Friends.
Yeah, I also want to say, so I've had the pleasure of meeting Bola. I met her at an event at the Financial Gym here in New York City, which we actually had an event there. And I had her on my other podcast, Financial Grown Up. And I have to tell you, she's just so funny too. I mean, she's very real. She's very honest. The story she told on my podcast, which you guys can go check it out. But she is honest. I mean, she reached her financial goals and then she just kind of like blew it again. So, she's someone that's very human. And I think we're going to really enjoy having her part of our community.
I can't wait to see the stories that she wants to share on the show. All right, that is week one. David Bach and Bola Secundby. I can't believe we're saying those out loud. But week two, it continues, Bobbi. Who are you going to come back with for week number 2?
Grant Sabatier. Who, by the way, has done a number of projects with David Bach. So they're all it all comes together. But his book, Financial Freedom, was, just such a huge hit among the money nerd crowd, but also among mainstream crowds. He basically went from being broke to being a millionaire in 5 years. And his story is just incredible. You can read about him all over the place. But he's the creator of Millennial Money, which is a huge, huge website chronicling how he did this. I mean, he literally was down to $2.26, and it was quite a crushing blow to kind of have to regroup your whole life. But then he had this amazing comeback story, and Grant is really sort of the all-American dream in that sense, that you can really kind of, no matter how tough times are, you can make a comeback. And I think it's incredibly inspiring. And he's a big advocate of the FIRE movement, which is financial independence, retire early. But he also is, as is the case of all of our cast members, very real, because I remember when I had him on Financial Grown Up, I keep referencing that, sorry, but he talked about the fact that he was going to live in New York City, because that's the life he wanted to live. And even though it's a really expensive city, and many people in the FIRE community say, you need to cut your costs and live in a less expensive place, he was like, no, but I also want to live the life that I want to live. And he'll stand up for that kind of stuff. So he has some very, he's not afraid to stand up for what he really believes in for himself, even if it goes against sort of the conventional financial advice. He also is a big advocate in that money buys you the financial freedom to make those choices that may be more expensive, I should say, but that what you want.
Yeah, Grant is a guy who, when I was in Detroit, brought his VW van with his friend Cody Berman as they went around the United States. He gave a talk in Detroit that we sold out, Bobbi, in I'm going to say 2 hours. The chance to see him speak, and we had a packed house and had just an incredible evening where Grant talked about the things that are important when it comes to your money. And I very much remember in his, not just in his Financial Freedom book, which was wildly successful, but also in his talk, that he's very passionate about spending lavishly on the things that you love, to your point, and not spending money on the things that you don't. And the fact that he was able to go from $2 in his bank account, $2 in his bank account, to what, 5 years later being well into millionaire status,
right?
Just is a powerful story that he has. And if anybody, I like it when people talk about good money habits, but this is a guy who's had horrible money habits and great money habits. And I mean, this goes back to Bola, right? Bola's story, very much the same. So he screwed up in ways that you don't have to, which I think is going to be fun for the show.
Yeah, look, that honesty is a common thread. I think in all of our casts. I mean, David Bach talks frequently about the fact that he ran up credit card debt in college, got it paid off, and then did it again. So they've all learned, and we all learn, and we're all very human. And a lot of these co-hosts, they have so much wisdom because they've been through so much, and they're willing to be candid about it and share with us.
Yeah. All right. I am going to try to match your Grant Sabatier with my Jason Harris. And as we talked about before, we are trying very hard to bring in minds from all different places. And Jason is another one of those people, Bobbi, that comes from outside the financial community. Jason is one of the top minds in the advertising industry. And man, when we talk about making buying decisions, the advertising industry front and center on deciding what we buy, how much we buy, what's hot, what's not. His company Mechanism has tons of awards to prove just how smart Jason is. He's going to bring an advertiser's perspective to the show. Of course, somebody like Jason we need, and we have somebody else who also is very much an expert in this area who we're going to name here in a few minutes. But he's somebody that when it comes to Black Friday and to the holiday sales, right? How do advertisers get in your ear is going to be a fantastic story. Jason's the co-founder, CEO of the award-winning creative agency Mechanism and co-founder of the Creative Alliance. He has worked with so many brands, Peloton, Ben & Jerry's, Molson Coors, OkCupid, and even the United Nations. His company has been named the number 6 most effective independent advertising agency in the U.S. It's also been named to Ad Agency's A-list and twice to their best places to work. Jason himself is named in the top 10 most influential social impact leaders, as well as the 4A's list of 100 people who make advertising great. They study what Jason does and what Mechanism does at Harvard. It's something very important. When I talked to Jason for Stacking Benjamins, and I was so happy that he decided he would join us here, one thing that he did was they donated Mechanism's time and creativity to the campaign against college rape. You see all of these horrible times when people have been raped in college, and President Obama decided to put a task force together on that front. And Jason Harris stepped up and said, "We will do the creative for those for absolutely free." And they're still very, very involved in that campaign. So Jason's going to be a fantastic person to have, especially this quarter as we come up into the big buying season, right?
Yeah, the big buying season. And also because of the pandemic, a lot of the changes that were already happening in the marketing and advertising space have been accelerated. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see his perspective on it, especially with social media and how television advertising has evolved and how it's coming back, because it's coming back very different. We saw a big dip in advertising right when the pandemic started. A lot of pain in the media industry, a lot of journalism jobs lost, frankly, because advertising supports so much journalism. And so, we'll see his perspective. What do you have to say?
It's funny. As we mentioned, we do these live and Kevin already giving me some grief. He says, Joe and Jason team hair. Jason's got great hair. I barely have any hair. Maybe Jason will teach me how to grow hair. That'd be fun. That is
I'm not going to touch that. Okay.
That is week number 2. We are halfway done, guys, but the best still to come. We got fantastic stuff. Week number 3, Bobbi.
So speaking of journalists, one of my favorite journalists is Elizabeth Seagran. I had the pleasure of interviewing her about her new book, The Rocket Years, which is all about your 20s and the decisions that you make in your 20s and those formative years and how they affect the rest of your life. And once I met her virtually, we haven't met in person yet, I knew I had to have her on this show, and we immediately reached out to her. She's one of the top journalists in the country. She is a staff writer at Fast Company, but her work has appeared in addition to that in places like The Atlantic, The Nation, Salon, and of course, she's also incredibly smart. She has a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, in the field of South and Southeast Asian studies with a designated emphasis on women, gender, and sexuality. She's also an expert on India, having devoted a decade to studying its history, literature, culture, and gender dynamics. She grew up, by the way, in Brussels, Paris, Singapore, Jakarta, and London before moving to New York to attend Columbia University. Told you she was smart. And she now lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with her husband and her baby daughter. So she's also a wife and a mom. And so she'll bring that perspective as well. And as a mom myself, I know we have a lot of parents that listen, a lot of compelling issues for parents in the pandemic. I think it'll be great to have her perspective on that, but also on the fashion industry. Just on an earlier episode, just last week, we read a story by her from Fast Company about Rent the Runway and the changes that they are making there, many of which they say were in place even before the coronavirus, but were exacerbated by the pandemic. So Elizabeth writes really compelling business news in the fashion niche, which is really going to be interesting, I think.
Well, I'll tell you, I love everything that she writes at Fast Company. I'm an avid Fast Company reader, and I think that her perspective on companies and the way that great companies operate, I think, is mostly informed by that by the breadth and the depth that she's able to talk about these things. I mean, because she's lived everywhere, and because of her personal experience, she's able to bring that to her stories, and I think that that's going to be a real the idea of having a journalist of her caliber on the show, I think is going to make those particular episodes are going to have a completely different feel, and I think it's going to be really fun to see what she does.
I'm really excited. Yeah. And I love her book, by the way, The Rocket Years. Everyone should read it.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going to try to match your Elizabeth with my drum roll again, my Farnoosh Robbi.
Ooh.
So money geeks out there, of course, know who Farnoosh is. If you don't know Farnoosh, she's the host of the So Money podcast. She is a financial expert. Where hasn't she appeared? I just watched a video, Bobbi, that she was going on Kelly and Ryan, or Ryan and Kelly. What do we call that show now? But she's
Live with Kelly and Ryan.
Yes. She's contributing editor to Oprah Magazine and Next Advisor. You see her on CNBC. Her pedigree, the things that she has done before launching her own wildly successful brands. Of course, she's had her own CNBC TV shows. She worked back in the early days. She worked with Gene Chatsky, and back in her early days also, she worked with Jim Cramer. So Farnoosh has worked with some of the biggest, brightest lights to become really her own big, bright light in the financial space. And I think that money nerds listening to the show, of course, know who Farnoosh Robbi is.
She's also a really giving person. Just personally, I met her behind the scenes, actually at a different conference. And I was actually moderating a panel she was on there. And she gave me some great advice, part of which was to do a podcast. And that's how I ended up doing Financial Grown Up, because I'd been encouraged by many people like you and said, no, I am never doing a podcast. And it's too much work. And Farnoosh, in about 2 minutes, convinced me that I should be doing a podcast, and it worked. So she is a very compelling person. She's someone that has been a good friend to me. And she's someone also that really focuses not on competing with you, but on growing the pie and really bringing people in and really being supportive to women in the industry. I know she gives back a lot to the community. She's done scholarships and stuff during the pandemic. And she also teaches a lot of people the things that she's learned along the way. So a really giving person, and really almost, I mean, I feel like in a second life, she would be a teacher, and she's really going to teach us so much, not just about money, but about how it applies to our lives and what we can do with it.
I think it's going to be that week 3 is well. Come on, week 1, week 2, week 3, all really fun. But that week 3, both Elizabeth and Farnoosh bring a journalist perspective to the show for that 3rd week. So that's going to be really fun. We are up to the final week, of course. What do we say? Last but not least, by far not least.
No. Yes.
Let's talk about week number 4.
Okay, so this is this fall winter season, as we've sort of alluded to, is a really important season because it is the holiday season. And this holiday season, I mean, it sounds so cliche to say now more than ever, but because of COVID, this is going to be the first holiday season ever in our lifetimes where we've had such a weird situation. It's just going to be weird. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we had all this online shopping happening. We had so many shifts already happening. And now you mix in the fact that we've got coronavirus and all these shopping habits changing. We had to get a phenomenal shopping expert. And as you guys know, a year ago this season, we had Trey Bach, my dear friend. Well, Trey, of course, introduced me to, and she's also friends with Cameron Huddleston, who I also have to thank for giving us an introduction to this guest. It is, and by the way, just to drag it out a second longer, she also appears on Live with Kelly and Ryan, just, I think, last week, okay? She appears in all the places. I think, I can't even keep track. Good Morning America, Today Show, Rachel Ray, The View, The Talk, Wendy Williams. I mean, like literally everywhere, although my favorite place is The Reels. I know, I'm literally, if you could watch us, I am torturing Joe. It is Amy Goodman. Amy Goodman, okay? Amazing lifestyle expert, shopping expert. She has the best personality. Oh my God. Guys, TikTok, Reels, whichever exists by the time this goes out, she is amazing. You must subscribe to her on Instagram. Amy E. Goodman, by the way. Amy E. Goodman is the handle on Instagram. And you must check out this woman's Reels and her family. Oh my goodness. Her family's in the Reels sometimes. So good. But I literally she's like, her Reels are better than like any network show. I know they have the Emmys. They need to have like an Emmys for Reels for Amy Goodman. She's the winner, hands down. But she's an amazing shopping expert. And I just I'm like giddy. You can tell on the edge of my seat for what Amy's going to bring to the table for this holiday season and beyond. Just amazing. She's lives in Washington, D.C. But as I said, she's always up in New York anyway because she's on TV so much. We're so excited to have her. So shopping expert, Amy Goodman. Just
I think
phenomenal.
this is to your point, you say this is the biggest year ever. I think it definitely is. There's so many people this year where your dollars always matter, but this year for people who are struggling financially to get through the holidays, I remember having those years when and this is horrible. But I remember before there was a company called Dayton Hudson. They used to be, you remember, the parent company of Target, purchased by Macy's. I remember the only credit card I had that worked one year was a Dayton Hudson credit card. And I did a Dayton Hudson Christmas for our family, just whatever we could find there, because it was the only cash that we had. And it wasn't even our money. And we were trying to buy as little as possible, but still buy something. And that I remember was horrible. And I know, Bobbi, just based on the statistics that we've shared the last few months, there's a lot of people going through that stuff this year, going through that right now. So knowing what to buy, what not to buy, how to have more with less, I think is going to be a fantastic perspective. And
also it's important with Amy. It's not just about buying stuff. One of the great things that Amy does is she's really into, accessibility and DIY. And if you watch her videos, like she did a recent video about remaking her work area. Well, you don't have to buy things all the time. You can repurpose what you already have. So she's also amazing at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic, and the fourth quarter with Amy and with Jason here, I think is going to be spectacular. And very last, and definitely very not least for Team Joe, week number 4 is, we've had the past 2 seasons in a row, we've had to have a guy who's very close to bald. We had comedian Paul Auinger on season 3, right? And Paul, we had a great time with Paul, the host of Crazy Money in season 3. This last season, I needed to have a very bald guy. So we had Peter Dunn, Pete the Planner, USA Today columnist in season 4. And we had fun with him. We got all the way to the end of this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we don't have a bald guy. We found one. And man, did we find one. Adam Carroll is going to join us. Adam, of course, is not only the guy who created one of the top documentaries about the student loan crisis, which appeared on CNBC, Broke, Busted, and Disgusted. He also is a guy who leads people, and especially young people, to lead their best life and to do more with the things that they have. Adam is a fantastic talk about, by the way, giving people, Bobbi. Adam is a guy who I've had so many great conversations with because of the fact that he always thinks big picture. Like, why does this really matter? And when it came to Broke, Busted, and Disgusted, his documentary, he believed that, you know, people go to college to get this better future, and instead it's blowing up in our face. So, interesting guy, Adam. Adam's the founder of the Build a Bigger Life retreat. He connects epic people and spends his days helping others realize they're the architect of their own lives. He is a 2-time TED Talk speaker. He's had nearly 4 million views of his TED Talks. Adam Carroll joining Team Joe.
Whoa.
But even more than that, he's follically challenged, which I think is.
Yeah. And by the way, our live audience here is pointing out the fact that somehow you always seem to have the co-hosts that are bald.
I have
What's up with that?
Bald with glasses. Bald
with glasses.
That is where we go. What a fantastic cast this season. I can't wait.
We pulled it off.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes into this, a lot of thought. It's really, we work really hard to bring a lot of diversity in all ways, as we talked about, and have the perfect balance, because you could have, amazing people that, kind of maybe all just like think and look like us, but we really want to bring in different opinions. And we're so grateful to these friends, these thought leaders that are going to be giving their time and their energy and their wisdom to us and to all of you, our friends, our listeners. So I just want to also just thank all of them. They've been wonderful. They're committing to doing, this for 4 months, which is really wonderful, literally from all around the world.
From advertising to shopping to journalism, specifically to financial journalism, community building, documentarians. This season, we've got it all. And we also have a 12-time New York Times best-selling author.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Joining us as well.
Yeah. And by the way, his website, Live Rich, everyone should check out that as well, David Bach, and his podcast too.
All right.
On there.
That is our season. And guess what, everybody? It kicks off tomorrow. If you're listening to the audio version of this, she's Bobbi. I'm Joe. Let's go do season 5. Bye-bye. Nice job, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
That was so fun. Okay, we are going to do a real episode. However, we will be right back with that.
That was a real episode, just saying.
Well,
we're going to do a standard format episode.
Standard format
Bye,
episode.
guys.
Yes.
We'll be back.
Deal.